So, I often say to myself, what's the best way to get people to understand what it takes to get to where they want to go? Look, videos are redundant, they get boring. I understand that. But the single biggest thing that people are having trouble with these days is they spend too much time in groups typing because they enjoy listening to the click click and the tick tick, when in reality, if you're talking to people in groups that are spending most of their time in there, believe me, 99% of them have no idea what they're doing. They're never going to make any money worth writing home about, and they're never going to make you any money worth writing home about. So asking them your questions is 100% useless. And there's so much brain damage going on with so many people that sit there and think that if they can just get someone to pay attention to them and give them free advice, that they're going to be turned on to something cool that's going to help them get to where they need to go. You know what? It's not going to do anything. It was 1987 when I first got involved in marketing. There was no internet, there was nothing. Actually, I think it was late 86, but around that time frame. And there was one thing and one thing only that made me want to get up off my butt, get out of my parents' house and go and do something. And it wasn't school. And I think that when I look back, probably the single biggest failure that school, the system itself, makes is equating things to real life. For instance, if more kids understood that, as an example, again, you can apply this to anything, that math is attached to software, which is attached to, as an example, making money, whereas if you're good at it and you get better at it, you can either be paid to do this, discover something, create something, invent something that will generate a nice living for you. And if money doesn't get you excited, that's fine. Even people that think money gets them excited, it's not really the money, it's the gonna turn up the AC here a bit, it's the freedom that the money actually provides you. It's not the actual funds itself, it's what you're able to do with those funds. So anyways, back to 1987. So what I ended up doing is I got moving because of a Mustang GT. That's what I wanted, and that's what got me to get up off my butt. It was a Mustang GT. Back then, everybody wanted one. It was one of the most popular sports cars out there, and that's what got me into wanting to take action. It wasn't because I had a burning desire to go out there and figure something out. It was because I wanted something. Your something might be something different. It might be supporting a charity, it might be buying a house, it might be helping your grandparents, it might be helping out your kids, it might be helping out your grandkids. But every single person out there has something that they either think is linked to money or isn't linked to money. But I promise you, the freedom you need, the energy you need, is always linked to money. Money is unfortunately what propels everything forward, if that makes sense. Because if you don't have it, you can't do what you need to do, and you can't be in a position to have the freedom that you need to sustain your own self. Even the most basic of things, a roof over your head, requires the money for you to get to the next step. I'm going to cut out here because I don't know if I like the camera angle. I got to. So back to what I was saying just a minute ago, something like a roof over your head. A lot of opportunities are generated just because somebody solves a problem. They discover a need and they provide an answer. The other day I was walking around downtown and I was thinking to myself, everything is so electronic, everything is so digital. How does a homeless person even beg for or solicit for, whatever term you want to use, for money? It's hard enough for them to get some, right? You don't even need change to pay your parking meter anymore. You can use the app on your phone, and the app on your phone is what? It's hooked up to your credit card, it's plastic, and most people do this, right? So here's a need for you. If you're wondering what could you do, well, figure out a solution where you could make it easy for the homeless to actually use some type of payment processing that lets them accept Apple Pay or some kind of plastic, so that the lack of change can't be used as an excuse when somebody walks by a homeless person and they're asked for, do you have any spare change? And the answer is no, I have no change on me. And these days, most of the time, it's not even a way to get out of it, it's the truth. So there's a little problem that if you could solve, charge a fee, you can make a lot of money there. Now, the other thing is, see, there's day-to-day things that, you may laugh at that, but you know what? It's not a laughing matter, it's a serious matter, and there's a business there which you can also obviously help the homeless, and satisfy a need, solve a problem. And there's many problems out there that you can solve, and there's many markets out there that are already in existence, in motion, that you could seize on and create a solution to a problem which will then generate revenue for you and help the people you're working with. So going to go back to what I was saying. So in 1987, I got involved with phone sales, and they were meant to help handicapped kids. It was a phone sales company that was selling Shriners Circus tickets, and a percentage of those proceeds were supposed to go towards helping handicapped children. And I found this in the newspaper. It was an ad that simply said something like, looking for people to work on the phone, selling Shriners Circus tickets. Now, the salary wasn't very big. I wasn't really thinking of that. I was thinking of just, a way to generate income. I didn't know anything. Remember, I was about 16 or 17 years old at the time. And knowing nothing sometimes can be a good thing, because you're kind of a fresh slate, right? You have no reference point. You can't look at something and say, well, I did this and I did that and that didn't work because. So you have no way to, and don't get me wrong, perspective can be good sometimes, of course, but I wasn't in a position to taint what I had bumped into, and I wasn't in a position based on past to tell myself that it wasn't going to work. So what ended up happening is I went in there and I got absolutely nowhere for months. I got slammed. I almost got fired. I was handed a phone book. I was told to go sit down, here's a script, and go figure it out. And I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people that absolutely could care less than less about what I had to say. And after some months of this and managing to not get fired, I decided to take a couple of days and sit there and watch. There was a big whiteboard where everyone kept track of their sales, and there was one lady there. I think her name was Madge, and she would get many sales. She was by far. So I had to splice the video because I got filming this on my iPhone, and I got cut off there by a phone call. So Madge was the best in the place, and I pretended for almost 2 whole days. I think it was could have been almost 3 whole days to work when I wasn't even working. I wasn't doing anything. All I was doing is trying to figure out what she was doing so that she could, so I could maybe get some sales like she was getting, because I knew I couldn't go on sitting there not getting sales because the salary was low, and it was based on some commission also, and you needed sales to get a decent check. So anyways, one of the things I figured out, and the most important thing I figured out, is that she was only talking to, I had somebody walk by the car there that caught my eye. She was talking to only the nice people, and most of her day was spent dialing and hanging up. It wasn't spent speaking, whereas a lot of other people were talking their heads off like I was, and were just getting slammed. So what she did is she only spoke to the people that had a positive tone of voice, sounded good, and sounded like nice, happy people. And that's what I figured out. And she'd spend, most of her day dialing and hanging up, and in the whole 6-7 hours of the day, she'd go through the whole script, maybe with, at the most 9 or 10 people, and she'd sell most of them. And she was able to do this because she discovered what it means to know and understand that you cannot turn somebody into a buyer. And that's probably, one of the most important things you guys all need to understand with your social media marketing agencies. You can't turn somebody into a buyer. It's the nice people that end up buying, people that are upbeat and positive, and you need to recognize who they are. And once you get good at doing that, and you are good at, articulating what your offer is, that's how things start to take off. So a lot of the time, something as mundane as where I was when I was that age, something so trivial as an ad in the paper, picking it up And getting started, you never know how valuable something is going to be unless your eyes are wide open, not wide shut, and you really zoom in on what's right there in front of you, kind of like this video can be invaluable to you, with the benefits that come with it. I'm going to splice the video again. I have a notification here. Usually I go into airplane mode, but I couldn't do that today. Someone else walking by the car, because I needed to be able to have calls still coming in while I'm doing this, and I usually do this in the car because it gives me a good window of time to do this, so I hope everything got recorded. So in 1987, what did I know? I didn't really know very much. All I knew is I wanted that brand new Ford Mustang GT, and you know, at the end of the day, it was the carrot that I put in front of myself that made me go out and do what I needed to do, which was get some skills. And I didn't know how I was going to get there, but about a year later, I had the car, and it's because I learned how to sell. You know, if you guys go out there and you're thinking to yourself, oh, you know, all I got to do is I got to find a closer, and I can find somebody to close my high ticket sales for me. You know what? Anybody that's good, that's really good, that you're going to want working for you, especially in the beginning, you either can't afford them or they're not going to want to work for you because they're going to be doing it on their own, or they're going to have some way where they're already involved doing what they need to do. A lot of the time in these ridiculous groups, people offer to do this, but what ends up happening is they're using your business as a guinea pig. They don't really know what they're doing. They're not that good, and they're hoping that they can get good because, you know, you are pointing them in the direction of contacting a lead, representing your business, and they are trying to do what they don't know how to do yet, which is actually sell, and sell in a way that is exciting because they're actually generating good revenue. So again, I know I'm bouncing back and forth a lot in this video, but there's a reason and a point to the whole thing. So once I had the Mustang GT, I was really in a position where I felt really good. I was happy, you know, because at 17, it's those immature things, those silly little things that we consider to be, you know, the cat's meow, as they say, the cat's ass, whatever word you want to use, that really put you over the top emotionally. And mindset, I can't begin to tell you, it's not a bunch of hocus pocus, it's not a bunch of bull. Mindset is such an important driving force because it's a superpower. Once you, and for me, and again, for you it might be something else, but for me, that Ford Mustang GT, the how much I loved it, how much I enjoyed it, and how much people my age were impressed by it. And I didn't do it to impress other people. I did it foremost because I loved cars. I still do. But the thing of the matter is, listen, everyone loves when people are impressed by them. But no human being, unless they're a liar, is going to turn around and say to me, oh, I hate it if people are impressed by something that I did. Because the truth of the matter is, it feels good. And as human beings, we want to do things that make us feel good. And for myself, yes, I enjoy feeling good, but you know, I discovered, and I didn't really discover this at that age, but later on, that I actually enjoy giving more than I enjoy receiving. When I get a gift for somebody, or when I do something for a client, or a client does well or starts to do well in their business, I enjoy it even more than when cool things happen to myself. And I'm not sure exactly why it is, but I'm sure a portion of you can relate to that as well. So anyhow, back to what I was saying before. So back around, you know, when I got into 1988, my mindset, because of the car, improved dramatically. It gave me a tremendous amount of confidence. And because I gained that confidence, it enabled me to actually be able to go to the next level and get to what. So for me, you know, the car was something tangible. It's something that I had, the car was something, you know, real, that I had arrived to, that I had actually gotten because of talent that I had cultivated, because of things I had figured out, because I had gotten good at sales, and I had the car, and that changed my mindset in the sense that, look, if I was capable of doing that, and if I was capable of making, you know, $1,000 a week by the time I was, you know, around 16, 17, then I began to understand the sky is the limit. Because, you know, Parents often tell us, a lot of them do when you're young, hey, you can do anything you want to do. Well, you know what? That's not true. What do I mean by that? You can do anything you want to do should come with a little bit of a footnote, as long as you're prepared to do what it takes to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. You see, I started out wanting that car, but to me, at 16, 17, that just meant I needed to make $300-400 a week. I had no expenses. There was nothing that I had to support. There was nothing I was, loaded up with where I needed a ton of money. So although it was a bit of a stretch for me in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't very complicated, right? Get a job, make the money, get good at something, and get the car. So I did that. But then once I had the car, the confidence it gave me that I was able to do this on my own, the enjoyment factor that item delivered to me daily that I had worked for made me push harder. It made me get better. It made me think of, how much more can I make? What if I do this? What if I do that? Anyway, so long story short, in this respect, I ended up, because there was only so much I could make in that industry. And again, remember, this is pre-internet, and the internet is really not that different. A lot of the skills that people were good at, that generate great revenue before the internet, are skills that work very well with the internet and are actually imperative. You need these things, these pre-internet skills, in order to do well with the internet, believe it or not, because otherwise it's very difficult to generate big liquidity in most cases without even the pre-internet skills. And it's not even it's a defining term I use, but it's probably not the best term, and I'm doing it off the cuff. But what I'm trying to say is, you need those prior existing skills to maximize the internet itself. So I'm going to keep trying to focus and concentrate as the people next to me walk in front of me and get into their car here, which is fine. So anyway, as I was saying, the pre-internet skills are something that is needed. So what happened to me? Well, I got out of the Shriner Circus ticket sales because, like I said, I was capped, and I went back to the well, back to where I started off. I went back to the newspaper, went back to the classifieds, and this time I found something that was a little bit more, it was worded a little differently, and I don't remember the exact wording now, but it was something like, looking for shooters or looking for closers for phone sales and earn up to 30% commission. So I said, 30% commission. I was thinking of the ticket sales. That was more than I would get there, even though the tickets didn't cost very much money. I said, I'm going to go check this out. Now, again, remember, I have no idea what's happening. I don't have much of an idea of what I'm doing. I left a place where I was doing what was in my eyes considered well, and I took a chance because I didn't know. I didn't know if I'd make the same money. I didn't know if I'd still, be able to pay for my car. I didn't know if I would do worse. I didn't know what was going to happen. All I knew is that I had done well, and maybe there was something I could do better at, and, basically get a better deal. So I went in there, and when I pulled up to that lot, that particular lot, the Shriners lot was nothing special. Just the owner of that company had a nice RX-7, which was also one of the go-to cars, sports cars, that were very, very popular back then. But this lot in particular, with the novelty and collectible items, I pulled up and there was Mercedes, Porsche, BMW. It looked like a luxury car dealership, and this was just the parking lot where people in that office worked, and a lot of them were driving some very high-end, very nice, very expensive cars. And when I walked in there, and again, remember, I didn't know what I was walking into. I just kept moving and believed I could do better. So when I walked in there, they were actually selling novelty items, collectible items, like kind of like things you'd find now on eBay and Shopify and Amazon, and which is popular and which a lot of people want to get involved with. And it's called drop shipping now. So that was the pre-internet version of drop shipping. And what would happen is you would sell novelty and collectible items in a package for a certain amount of money, and you would sell it to individuals and business owners, and then you would make a commission. And the average sale back then was a few $100s all the way to in 88, 89, I think a big sale then was about $1,000, and 2000 was a colossal sale, and you would make about 30%. And I spent from 88 until about 98 most of my time in that industry, and I was able to generate, before the internet, millions of dollars. I made millions of dollars myself personally, and closed millions of dollars in sales in that particular industry. And remember, this came just from moving, just by keeping moving. It was a two-step hop. I did do other things before the Shriner Circus tickets, but not really sales. You know, I think the very first thing I ever did was I worked in a supermarket, and I delivered newspapers. So why am I going through this whole hullabaloo with you guys today? I'm hoping that the video is a little more interesting, more insightful in terms of where I came from and a few steps that I took to be able to learn some of the skills that I've learned, that I pass on to clients now, and more importantly, that I've used myself to close and generate millions of dollars. Because most of the people that you're going to bump into on here on the internet, a lot of them have no idea what they're doing. A lot of them are just outright lying to you, or are just trying to sell you courses, never having actually sold products or services themselves to any grand scale ever. And that's a bunch of nonsense. You know, there should be a criteria, a pecking order, where a person isn't even allowed to sell a course if they haven't actually done it. As they say, you know, those who only teach and have only taught teach because they can't do. I've done, and now I can also teach. And those are the kind of people out there that you want to be able to learn from, is people that have done and can teach, not people that just teach and have never done and teach only because they can't really do. So when I finally made my way, finally made my way onto the internet after about 10 years in the novelty and collectible item business online, I learned about affiliate marketing. This video isn't about drop shipping per se, it's just about the affiliate marketing industry. And if you want to learn more about it, and if you want to figure out, you know, what you need to be good at before you actually get deeply immersed, deeply entrenched, there are so many different avenues that you can take. And even something like a social media marketing agency, for instance, can be used in the affiliate marketing sense, because you can bridge over someone else's pre-existing business if you choose to, in order to be able to you know, start up and become profitable and take a lot of headaches off your back. But first of all, just so you understand, the reason I was able to generate millions on the internet as well is because of my background, which came from offline. Now, it doesn't mean that if you've never had any offline background that you can't become successful online in affiliate marketing. It just means that there's a lot of techniques that you're going to learn online with affiliate marketing that actually existed before the internet even came to fruition. A lot of new things, and I want to make this clear, and I'll use an example that everyone can relate to. A lot of new things like the television. Well, back then it was radio, and then there was the visual form, right? But it's still a communication device. Well, the internet is really a TV with millions of channels, and it's an interactive TV, so it's not that new. It just took the concept of television and it made it where any individual can actually now broadcast and or participate in an interactive manner over the internet, which is nothing more than a walking, talking television that allows you to communicate with it. It's like a walking, talking, dancing mail piece, and I want you to keep this in mind, because I think the biggest surprise you will have in the affiliate marketing industry, regardless of what path you choose to go down, is how similar really everything is in terms of the nuts and bolts and what you need to master to have a chance to succeed. And coming from somebody who has traveled everywhere that you want to be in the online and offline marketing field and done very well, you'd want to learn from me, because I'll save you a tremendous amount of time. And I'm sure you've heard it before everywhere else, but I'll tell you it's true. If I knew, if I could have been saved the time, I would have made millions of dollars much quicker. And no, you're not guaranteed to make that type of revenue, just because you're gonna, things, how well you do depends on you personally, and there are other exterior factors as well. But everything I'm sharing with you is fact, and it can make your life in the affiliate industry much, much more interesting, much more enjoyable, and much more pain-free if you can master a lot of what you're going to learn. So hit the sign up button so that I can give you a bit of a head start in terms of helping you to eliminate a lot of mistakes and get you to from point A to point B using a straight line that I think you're going to really enjoy and thank me for. And that's it for now. Hit that sign up form, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.